November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas. A day etched in infamy, a date forever synonymous with tragedy. The sun shone brightly, but the atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. President John F. Kennedy, a beacon of hope for a nation on the cusp of change, was coming to town. The motorcade route was meticulously planned, a carefully orchestrated dance of goodwill designed to showcase the president's charisma and connect him with the people. Crowds lined the streets, waving American flags and cheering as the open-top limousine carrying Kennedy and his wife Jacqueline made its way through the city. But what began as a jubilant spectacle soon descended into chaos. As the motorcade passed through Dealey Plaza, shots rang out. The sound, sharp and jarring, shattered the festive mood. Initial confusion gave way to horrified realization as the president slumped forward, mortally wounded. In that instant, the world changed. A nation's dreams were shattered, and the promise of a new era was abruptly extinguished. Amidst the pandemonium, one man stood apart: Abraham Zapruder. A dressmaker armed with a home movie camera, Zapruder had positioned himself on a concrete pedestal to capture the historic moment. Little did he know, he was about to film something far more significant and far more horrific than a presidential parade. Zapruder's 8mm Bell and Howell camera, whirring relentlessly, captured the assassination in excruciating detail. Frame by frame. The film recorded the president's reactions, the chaos of the Secret Service, and the horrified expressions of the onlookers. Unbeknownst to him at the time, Zapruder had captured the only known film footage of the assassination, a piece of evidence that would become central to the investigation and a source of endless debate and speculation for decades to come. In the immediate aftermath, the Zapruder film quickly became a hot commodity. Recognizing its importance, Zapruder took the film to the local Kodak processing lab. He worked with them to make a couple of copies that very day. Afterwards, he contacted the authorities, understanding immediately that what he possessed was no ordinary home movie. Secret Service agent Forrest Sorrells was dispatched to meet with Zapruder. The agent quickly grasped the significance of the film and ensured copies were made and secured. The original, however, remained in Zapruder's possession, a heavy burden for one man to carry. The nation was reeling. News of Kennedy's death spread like wildfire, plunging the country into mourning. Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was swiftly sworn in as president aboard Air Force One, a somber ceremony conducted under the shadow of unimaginable grief. As the investigation began, initial doubts about the official narrative started to surface. The Warren Commission, tasked with investigating the assassination, concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine, acted alone. But many found this conclusion difficult to accept. The timing of the shots, the trajectory of the bullets, and the actions of those present seemed to defy a simple, lone gunman explanation. Questions arose, whispers turned into theories, and the seeds of conspiracy were sown. Adding fuel to the fire was the dramatic, and some would say, convenient murder of Lee Harvey Oswald just 2 days after the assassination. Jack Ruby, a Dallas nightclub owner with alleged ties to organized crime, shot Oswald live on television, effectively silencing the only man who could definitively answer the questions surrounding the events in Dealey Plaza. With Oswald dead, the truth became even more elusive, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Amidst the turmoil, Zapruder faced a difficult decision about the film he held. Understanding its historical importance, he ultimately decided to sell the rights to Life magazine for $150,000. But Zapruder was a man of conscience. He was deeply disturbed by the gruesome reality captured in his film, particularly frame 313, which showed the moment of the fatal headshot. Driven by a desire to protect the Kennedy family from further pain and to shield the public from the full horror of the assassination, Zapruder insisted that Life magazine omit frame 313 from publication. They agreed. For years, the most crucial, most graphic moment of the assassination remained hidden from public view, fueling further speculation and conspiracy theories. What was so terrible about Frame 313 that it needed to be suppressed? What secrets did it hold? The omission of Frame 313 only intensified the mystery surrounding the Zapruder film, turning it into a forbidden artifact, a whispered secret that captivated and haunted the nation. It was a piece of history both desperately sought after and carefully guarded, a stark reminder of a day that forever altered the course of American history. For decades, the Zapruder film stood as the undisputed visual record of the JFK assassination. It was the footage, scrutinized frame by frame, the basis for countless theories and debates. But what if I told you there was another film? A second perspective hidden for years that could potentially rewrite the narrative we thought we knew. That's right. In year, make this a realistic recent year, say 2023, a second film, shot by a man named Dale Carpenter, emerged from obscurity, sending ripples through the historical community and reigniting the flames of conspiracy that have smoldered for generations. Carpenter, a truck driver from Dallas, was also present at Dealey Plaza on that fateful day. But unlike Zapruder, who occupied a slightly elevated position, Carpenter filmed from ground level, offering a completely different vantage point. Imagine this. The Zapruder film gives us a panoramic view, almost like a distant observer. Carpenter's film plunges us into the heart of the chaos, capturing the immediate reactions of the crowd, the frantic movements of the Secret Service, and the agonizing expressions on the faces of those closest to the tragedy. The key difference lies in the intimacy of the footage. While the Zapruder film allows us to analyze the trajectory of the bullets and the movement of the limousine, Carpenter's film provides a visceral, emotional connection to the human element of the tragedy. We see the raw shock and disbelief etched on people's faces, the desperate attempts to understand what just happened, and the immediate outpouring of grief. And most significantly, it offers a previously unseen glimpse of Jacqueline Kennedy in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. The Zapruder film shows her iconic climb onto the trunk of the limousine. Carpenter's footage, however, captured moments before that, showing her initial reaction, being shielded by a Secret Service agent, her face a mask of horror and confusion. These images, unseen for decades, added a new layer of emotional depth to our understanding of her experience. But the emergence of Carpenter's film raises a crucial question. Why did it remain hidden for so long? The answer, it seems, is both mundane and intriguing. According to Carpenter's family, the film was simply forgotten. Tucked away in a box of old family belongings, it lay dormant for decades, only to be rediscovered years after Carpenter's death. Sounds simple enough, right? But of course, that hasn't stopped the conspiracy theorists from having a field day. Was it really just a simple case of forgetfulness? Or was there a more sinister reason why this film remained hidden from the public eye? Some speculate that the film contained information that contradicted the official narrative, perhaps revealing the presence of additional shooters or inconsistencies in the timeline of events. Others suggest that the film was deliberately suppressed to protect certain individuals or institutions from scrutiny. Naturally, the authenticity of the Carpenter film has also been subjected to intense scrutiny. Experts have analyzed the film, stock, the camera used, and the chain of custody to verify its provenance. So far, the consensus seems to be that the film is, in fact, genuine. It's been dated to the correct period, and there's no evidence of tampering or manipulation. But even if the film is authentic, its interpretation remains open to debate. Does it confirm or contradict the existing theories about the assassination? Does it offer new insights into the events of that day? Or does it simply add another layer of complexity to an already incredibly complex and controversial event? One thing is certain. The emergence of the Carpenter film has reignited the debate surrounding the JFK assassination. It has forced us to re-examine the evidence, to question our assumptions, and to consider the possibility that the full story of what happened in Dealey Plaza on November 22, 1963, may still remain shrouded in mystery. Think about it. The Zapruder Film, for all its importance, is just one perspective. It's a valuable piece of evidence, but it's not the whole picture. The Carpenter film offers a complementary perspective, a different angle that can help us to better understand the events of that day. The two films, when viewed together, provide a more complete and nuanced picture of the assassination. They offer different perspectives on the same event, allowing us to see the tragedy from multiple angles and to appreciate the complexity of the situation. But perhaps the most important contribution of the Carpenter film is its ability to humanize the tragedy. It reminds us that the assassination was not just a historical event, but also a human event, an event that deeply affected the lives of countless individuals. By capturing the raw emotions of the crowd and the desperate reactions of the secret service, the Carpenter film brings us closer to the human cost of the tragedy. It reminds us that behind the statistics and the conspiracy theories, there were real people who suffered a profound loss on that day in Dallas. So where does the Carpenter film leave us? Does it solve the mystery of the JFK assassination? Probably not. But it does offer a valuable new perspective on a historical event that continues to fascinate and confound us. It challenges us to question our assumptions, to re-examine the evidence, and to consider the possibility that the truth may be more complex and elusive than we ever imagined. And perhaps that's the most important lesson of all. The JFK assassination is not just a historical event. It's a reminder of the power of perspective, the importance of questioning authority, and the enduring human need to understand the mysteries that shape our world. The Carpenter film, in its own way, helps us to do just that. It's a vital addition to the historical record, and, for some, a vital piece of a puzzle that remains stubbornly incomplete. Now let's examine what all of this means. Ever since that tragic day, people have questioned what really happened, and the more they learned, the more questions seemed to pile up. The official statement released seemed too straightforward for such an incident. The report said Lee Harvey Oswald, a troubled former Marine, had bought a rifle through the mail, made his way to the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, and fired 3 shots. Alone, unaided, he supposedly changed the course of history. But many never bought the story. The idea of one man really behind something so calculated and fast like that was far too good to be true. They believed someone else must have been behind the scenes, pulling the strings. This led to endless speculations, with conspiracy theorists dissecting every detail of the event. The Central Intelligence Agency was one of the first names they pointed to. Kennedy had clashed with them over Cuba, especially after the Bay of Pigs disaster in 1961. Many believed those tensions had turned into open hostility. To them, Kennedy wasn't just questioning their judgment. He was threatening their power. And maybe because of this, they decided to take matters into their own hands by, shall we say, removing the threat. It's possible that within the agency, some people no longer saw Kennedy as a leader. To them, he was more of a threat than an ally. And then there was Robert Kennedy, the president's own brother and the country's attorney general. He had launched an unprecedented crackdown on organized crime. And mob bosses who once ran cities like Chicago, Las Vegas, and New Orleans with impunity found themselves cornered, dragged into courtrooms and targeted by relentless federal investigations. Their grip on power was shaken, and that didn't sit well. Some began to wonder if the assassination was payback. Rumors about Kennedy's personal associations with women linked to mob figures were considered, and this theory gained even more traction. Before long, the idea of a mafia hit didn't seem so far-fetched. Of course, Kennedy's vice president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, quickly found himself in the middle of the swirl of suspicion. Known for his relentless ambition and political maneuvering, Johnson had always walked a fine line, and rumors were already swirling that Kennedy might drop him from the ticket in 1964. Then Dallas happened, and suddenly Johnson was elevated to the presidency. To critics, the timing looked almost too convenient, giving him more to gain than anyone else. And then there's Lee Harvey Oswald himself. Just weeks before the assassination, he reportedly visited both the Cuban and Soviet embassies in Mexico City, which immediately raised suspicions of possible foreign intelligence connections. Whether he was being watched, recruited, or simply moving in suspicious circles, these trips added another layer of mystery. The lone gunman explanation suddenly felt far too simple for an event that shook the world so profoundly. Additionally, there's Jack Ruby, the nightclub owner who shot Oswald on live television inside the police station basement. He claimed he acted out of compassion, hoping to spare Jacqueline Kennedy the pain of a public trial. Few found that explanation convincing. Ruby was known for his mob connections, his quick temper, and the unusually easy access he had to Oswald. To many, it looked less like an impulsive act of grief and more like a calculated move to prevent Oswald from revealing the truth. The magic bullet also added another layer to the mystery. According to the Warren Commission, one shot missed the motorcade, another struck President Kennedy in the head, and a single bullet caused multiple injuries to both Kennedy and Governor Connally. This led to what's known as the magic bullet theory. According to the theory, the bullet supposedly passed through Kennedy, struck Connally, and caused so much damage while still coming out almost intact. To critics, it sounded more like something out of a book, not real life. The Zapruder film also fueled endless speculation. Some claim the footage hinted at more than one shooter, while others suggested parts of it might have been edited or withheld from the public. Over the years, as new evidence surfaced, the mystery only grew deeper, keeping the questions alive for generations. By 1979, the Kennedy assassination was trending again, and the House Select Committee on Assassinations reopened the case, this time armed with more advanced tools. They examined acoustic recordings accidentally recorded from a Dallas police officer's open motorcycle radio. Listening closely, experts found something unsettling. The recording suggested 4 shots had been fired, not 3. This tiny detail reignited the possibility of a second shooter. For the first time, an official investigation hinted that the lone gunman story might not tell the whole truth. But the report offered no names, no arrests, and no real closure. Instead of solving the mystery, it deepened suspicion and left the questions hanging in the public imagination for years. Eyewitness accounts only poured more fuel on the fire. Dozens of people in Dealey Plaza insisted they heard shots coming from the infamous grassy knoll, not the Texas school book depository. Some even reported seeing smoke, movement, or the glint of a rifle barrel. But many of these testimonies were dismissed or downplayed in official records. Some who tried to speak out later said they were intimidated or silenced. Over the years, the list of people connected to the assassination who died under unusual or mysterious circumstances grew long enough to become its own part of the story, fueling rumors that key witnesses were deliberately silenced to protect a deeper secret. However, in a rare interview on the day of the assassination, Abraham Zapruder described the shots he heard. He remembered hearing the first shot, followed by 2 almost immediately after, each echoing sharply through Dealey Plaza. He recounted the chaos around him, the crowd's sudden panic, and the reactions of the Secret Service. He dismissed the claim of a second shooter, and he said if there were 4 shots, he would have heard them. But despite what he said, it didn't stop people from speculating. More than 60 years later, the assassination of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy continues to captivate and fascinate the world. Most Americans today still believe Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone. Over the years, experts, journalists, and filmmakers have all offered their own interpretations, but no definitive answers have ever been found. The questions that still linger focus on who was really behind Kennedy's murder, what motivated Oswald, and why Jack Ruby acted so impulsively. Debates continue over interpretations of the Zapruder film and the fresh perspective offered by Dale Carpenter's newly discovered reel. Even decades later, the mystery of Dallas refuses to fade, continuing to captivate and confound the world. Today, history remembers President Kennedy for his vision, his inspiring speeches, and the hope he brought to a nation. His assassination reminds us of how fragile life and power can be. In a single moment, the course of history shifted, showing that even the brightest era can end in an instant, and life can turn from promise to tragedy in the blink of an eye. Even as the country moved on, The full truth of what happened in Dallas remained a mystery, buried beneath layers of evidence, speculation, and unanswered questions. But what if the truth about Dallas was never meant to be uncovered? What if every witness and every clue were just another piece of a puzzle designed to stay unsolved? After all these years, could the real story of Kennedy's death still be hidden in plain sight? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you enjoyed this video, click on the next video on your screen. Click on the next video on your screen.